When I see high-level performance, I see leaders living their best life, being a great soul, making a big difference, and learning to receive. I'm JD, the VIP Coach, and you're listening to the VIP Coach Podcast, liberating leaders, saving geniuses, and growing companies. Bringing leaders to these aspects is what I do, because they need creative freedom to make a big jump in their career. They need to help the world see the opportunity of them, and they rely on their most important gifts and talents to leverage their effectiveness. This is the pathway to high-level performance, and it's about lifestyle, freedom, and growth. Welcome. Okay, so welcome to the podcast, the High Level Performance Podcast. Now, today I have a great guest, a coach client. Angela O'Meara is an author, speaker, and certified integrative nutrition and healthy living coach who helps clients obtain their full potential when it comes to living a healthy and vibrant life. Now, she's an avid hiker, a fitness enthusiast, and wellness entrepreneur. Angela's worked for over 30 years in the anti-aging and aesthetic industry and brings to high-level performance a well-rounded approach of coaching people to ultimate health and beauty from the inside out. Some more things that you may want to know about Angela is that she has an added background in public relations and marketing for doctors and medical industry leaders. And Angela's worked in television, bringing health, wellness, aesthetics, surgery, and many other medical stories and breakthroughs to the media, and has worked alongside shows like Good Morning America, Today Show, The Doctors, Entertainment Tonight, and others. And working with these doctors and health specialists over the years, it's given Angela a special background in the health coaching that she provides, and she combines her business marketing acumen and expertise with integrated health, nutrition, and wellness. And that makes her the perfect health coach for many business executives and those pursuing a life of health and happiness at any age. And for those listeners of the podcast, I have selected Angela for this podcast because my interest and one of my aspirations is to get our coaching clients to be the healthiest leaders on the planet. I want them to go all the way with their dreams and goals. And by having a helper like Angela and the faculty and the team, it really helps that dream come to fruition. So Angela, welcome.
JD, thank you so much. That was a wonderful introduction. And if I were one of your clients, I would definitely be considering adding a health coach to my daily practice. But thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. And Angela and I have had a coaching relationship for many, many years, stretching over 2 decades. And so I've been with her through these different moments in her career. And what we've come to is really the very, very best of who she is in the work that she's doing. She's extremely knowledgeable. And as you would expect, Angela's the real deal. So everything that she's going to talk about in this call with us in this podcast is going to be based on her own experience, and that she is the best health coach of herself. And so a lot of the methods and the nutrition and the guidelines and all the knowledge that she offers, she brings that 20 years of experience of really living it. And so pay attention and really listen to her. So the first question I have, Angela, is what is a health coach? What is that? Why health coaching? What is a health coach?
You know, JD, I think, really what a health coach is a person who, much like, you're a business coach and we work together and you help me and your clients attain our goals and dreams. And we do that through visioning. We do that through daily, our mentoring, and we do that with, our desire to create a better business, life and environment for ourselves, for our staff, for our families. A health coach is somebody who, much like a business coach, works with somebody who has specific health ideals, understands that, they need somebody to kind of cheer them on, be a mentor to them, be somebody to push them in their desire to lead a healthier lifestyle. A health coach isn't just about nutrition, and I think that is one of the areas where I am certified as an IIN integrated Institute of Nutrition health coach. And nutrition, of course, is so important in many ways that we don't even understand. But a health coach is somebody who also helps you find balance. And as busy entrepreneurs, balance is something we're always striving for. but it's generally balance in our business, not balance in our life. And so by being a health coach, we can also help clients reach their physical health and wellness goals, but also see the impact of the other elements in their life, and we call it the circle of life. And those elements are friendships, relationships, social life, workout, food and nutrition, of course, business, joy, and it's all about basically bringing happiness into your life, but in a way that covers all of the what they call primary foods, So we think primary food as being, food, but it isn't necessarily food. It is, again, relationships, friendships, social life, business environment, and finding balance within all of those areas. And so as a health coach, that's our goal is to help you lead a healthier life and have a healthier body and have a healthier mind. Because as we all know, without our health, there is no wealth.
Mm, wow. And so you bring up the idea of balance, and that it's not just balance in the business, or how am I balancing my time and how am I using my best use of time, but real balance. I mean, I think we're describing balance at a different level, Angela, which is more fundamental: emotional balance, physical balance, where there's mental balance, spiritual balance. You bring up the circle of life, and you've described all these domains. And as you were describing them, I mean, I'm picturing, okay, like I walked through the hallway of my friendships. Okay, there's another drawer or a hallway of my relationships: food, nutrition, happiness. I got the sense that what the health coach is doing is really pulling it all together and not leaving one of those out that could be very, very vital, could be very important to the overall happiness of the individual. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct, JD.
Okay. Wow. So are health coaches like doctors, Angela?
I would say no. I mean, and we do have to qualify that a health coach is not a doctor unless they are already an MD, a DO who then goes on to become a health coach too, which some doctors do. I do know some MDs and DOs who have actually been certified the same way as I have to be able to bring health coaching into their practice, along with their diagnostic tools to treat, illnesses. So no, we are not doctors.
I see. I see. So when the health coach is influencing behavior and changes, it would suggest that the the way that the health coaching is assisting the client is by coming at it from all these different directions. So it's not just the food, it's not just friendship, emotional well-being, it's not just one area, but that we're in a more holistic way, in an integrated way, we're looking at all of it on the table. Which for me, I don't I mean, Angela, as you're describing that, I don't find myself going to the doctor to have those kind of conversations that are constructive. What's wrong with you? How do I fix it? Did you get better? No, you didn't. What do I give you now? This is, I think you're pointing at something very different in terms of the type of help and how effective it is. Is that correct?
That is correct, JD. And I do want to kind of go and say many health coaches, or all health coaches, we all, much like, again, business coaches, we kind of work in areas and with people from all walks of life. I happen to choose to work with entrepreneurs and business minded people, or small business owners, or medium, large business owners, but people who have the entrepreneur side of the business side of life. Now, there are health coaches, who work specifically with working moms, health coaches who work with, other niches in life, and many of us also do work alongside medical doctors. And the medical doctors that we work alongside are more in the realms of a medical doctor in functional medicine. And so it's important for people to understand, that from a health coach perspective, my first goal or my first question is going to go through the circle of life with you and help you kind of map out, what are the areas in your life where, perhaps you're neglecting. And in those areas of neglect, it's like, let's get down to why are you neglecting them? Now, if I come across a client who says, well, I need to lose 20 pounds, I have no energy, I end up, working till 10 o'clock at night every night, my wife gets mad at me because I'm not there for breakfast with the kids because I've already left with it. It's pretty easy for me to spot, that this particular person is not balanced because their whole focus is on work. And then it's getting down to, okay, well, it's not just helping you balance, but maybe getting down to, what is your food intake? And, if part of this food intake is causing or has a potential to cause, just based on my understanding, my education, learning of, what causes inflammation in the body. When I ask, can you detail for me what you eat on a daily basis? I can pretty much, through my understanding of functional medicine and how a functional medicine doctor would work, is what are the areas that perhaps you want to what food areas are creating sensitivities within you. Now, I don't want to say allergies, because allergies are things that are different than sensitivities. And there are people who have, really serious gluten allergies and are celiacs. And if you read upon on gluten allergies, for example, there are more celiacs living amongst us than we would like to think about. And the side effects of celiac disease has many, many side effects that are only in more recent years being understood as being the cause of things like infertility, inflammation, many other things in the body that, people are seeking treatment for. But because they're not looking at their sensitivities to food or the environment or their toxic relationship, then they're not understanding really what it is. And they say, oh, well, I have an allergy, I can't eat. And it's like, well, you're not really allergic, you're just sensitive, but it's triggering other things. So that's kind of where a health coach comes in, is to really do an assessment and help a person understand. And then, but if we do find, like, for instance, I'll think, well, I think this client is anorexic, or I think this client has mental health issues, or I think this client, has other issues that go beyond the scope of a health coach, then it's my duty, and it's the duty of a health coach, to refer to basically say, look, it's great working with you, I love you, but, I do think, you would benefit from working with somebody in functional medicine who can really help you heal that aspect of yourself. And so that's kind of where it's like, when you bring up doctors, it's like, good health coaches do work with doctors who can help them, but as we all understand, I mean, in the US, and it's pretty much happening worldwide, we have a health crisis. And the health crisis isn't just the opioid epidemic, which is a whole other conversation, and where does that stem from? Or the obesity epidemic, which is huge, diabetes, heart disease. Why is the US the leader in all of these diseases? It's like, yeah, we all want to be the US is the world leader in every aspect of life, but we should not be the world leader in poor health. And that, again, that's a whole other conversation. Where does that come from? And then our medical system is, and especially in recent years, is just overwrought. It's under-resourced, and it is overwrought with so much. Our health insurance system, it's just not working. And so for me, I think a health coach, and the reason that there's been kind of an expansion and an explosion in health coaches is because there's a need for people to take control of their own health.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So what struck me, Angela, was the sensitivities at the beginning of what you were describing. And this sounded like one not seeing those sensitivities. So here I am, the client, and I'm not seeing where those food allergies are creating as root causes of surface issues. I'm not connecting the dots. So what I hear you saying is there's an awareness to this, of opening your eyes to see where you do have some more control in positioning yourself, in positioning your wellness. And it really struck me because those are areas that aren't obvious. And as business people, we all are so fast paced. The incessant freneticness of what we're doing is the epidemic. And it becomes more and more stressful to stop and to say, what am I doing? And take a place of reflection in the middle of things. And what you just said was like, hey, how can you afford not to? Because that moment of taking a closer look, if you really look carefully, you will catch things that you wouldn't normally, that have big effects. I often say to clients, as you know, big doors swing on little hinges. And sometimes these little hinges, when they're overlooked, we have moments where we have opportunity to take a consideration and change up a food or change up something that we're eating that is not working for our system. So I just want to just put the light on that, Angela, that what you're getting us to see is, hey, how do you look at your sensitivities? Do you know what you're doing to cause inflammation? That's a big hot word today. You can hear that in the news a lot, that a lot of doctors are talking about the inflammation being a big deal, probably bigger than we've ever thought. And then, so that piece there, and you said the word understanding, is understanding where you are, understanding what is really going on. When you do that, when you do those sensitivities, do you profile? How do you get the data? Do you have it in conversations? Do you use an assessment? How do you get someone to look? Is that the first part of the process?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, and we kind of go through, a health questionnaire. And so we have a health questionnaire, ask you questions about, I
Yeah.
mean, it's not probing too much, but it's just general questions of how do you feel, what do you eat? What's your family situation? Where are you at in your life? And then from there, we kind of go into a coaching session where we discuss each area. And it's much like you do with your coaching clients. Is it's like, you kind of set a goal as to, everybody has a reason to come to a health coach. And it could be something as, a lot of times it's usually weight related, or energy related. It's not, those who think I'm in perfect health but I need a health coach, because people who think they're in perfect health, are not going to seek a health coach, whether they need one or not. Um, but it's generally somebody who, they know deep down that they got to do something. Um, and so from there, then we get into, like, what is your main goal? Like, what is it you're trying to do? So what can I do to help you get there? And then we begin the discussions, and we work on a beginning 6 month program. And much like, you say, you and I mean, we began on a 6 month program, and we've been together over 20 years
Yeah.
now. In
Yeah,
terms of
it works.
your coach me, it works. And we kind of become, friends. We become closer. We, have confidence and trust in each other. And it's the same with the health coach. People begin to have confidence and know that everything is completely confidential and private, and anything they tell me is between us, and I'm not judgmental in any way. My goal is to help them, wake up feeling good every day, and feeling good about themselves, and having vitality in their life. And so it's really where it's at.
So let's just say, Angela, let me just, you've been very helpful in getting people to see, or getting me to see, what is the point and what could be possible. We're starting to talk now about maybe some of the deliveries of the coaching and what might be possible if it is, if you participate, if a person gets themselves coached. Um, okay, so let me just throw one at you. I'm going to throw this at you. So let's say that I'm not getting the right amount of sleep. Sleep to me one of the most fundamental things that affects so many other things. And so let's say that I can't get a good night's sleep. And so an entrepreneur would say to me, when I'm underslept, the world gets stupid. I'm not in a good mood. I eat more. I'm not feeling refreshed. My quality of thinking is not good. I'm not as uh, I'm not as tolerant to change. How, if we explored that piece, how would we go into that? I'm having sleep trouble. I'm not talking to my physician about that. I'm talking to you. Where would you start?
I would actually start by having them kind of for a week, excuse me, or 2 weeks, to do a daily inventory of what they eat,
Hmm.
what they drink, and what they
Wow.
consume. Because I mean, when you look at most causes of sleep, insomnia, sleep deprivation,
Yeah.
a lot of it is very much food and digestion related.
Mm.
And so, we look at kind of the American diet, even the healthy American diet, we tend to eat, our main meal of the day is at the end of the day versus breakfast or lunch. And so I think that is a lot to do with it. A lot of people, for that heavy main meal of the day, it could be, that they're having a burger and fries, or they could be having a salmon and potatoes. I mean, they could be having things, pasta, but things that are basically difficult to digest.
Mm.
And so, I would really take a look at what their diet is, what their routine is, what their
Mm.
week to 2 week looks like. And then from
Mm.
there, I would make suggestions. Because if you've been somebody who, has been sleep deprived for months or years, it's not going to change in a week, it's going to change over time. I
Mm.
mean, and there are things, like you look at, and it's kind of like caffeine, for instance, coffee. Now I love my morning coffee, but that's for somebody like me, a cup and a half of coffee in the morning, I'm good for the rest of the day. I don't
Mm.
have afternoon lulls, rarely. If I do, I know why, because it's generally I've had something, that's caused me to have an afternoon lull, but I generally don't. I go all day, but it's understanding caffeine and coffee and what caffeine
Mm.
does to the body, which is where a health coach, can help you understand that. Where caffeine in itself doesn't have energy.
Huh.
Caffeine triggers the nervous system. So within our nervous system, we have four different areas of the nervous system and how it operates. One of which is fight or flight. So
Mm.
if you're in some kind of a situation, you need your brain immediately tells your body, hey, I'm in danger. It hits the adrenaline and you run for your life. Well, caffeine does exactly the same thing. And
Wow.
so caffeine in itself, again, doesn't have energy, but caffeine triggers the nervous system to the fight or flight or increased adrenaline. So you might be one of these people who says, no, oh, I'm good having coffee at dinner. Well, then you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning is because
Yeah.
that coffee from 4 o'clock that afternoon has made the adrenaline system work. And yeah, you've gone to sleep, but then you've woken up at 2 in the morning and you're wide awake and you don't know why. And it's because
Mm.
caffeine has triggered the adrenal system, and so it's just, again, that's kind of where a health coach comes in. Is it's like, okay, well, maybe it's as simple as you just as much as you think in the afternoon, I need a cappuccino or I need a latte or I need an espresso for that afternoon lull, is like, well, let's replace it with something else. Let's replace that afternoon lull with some kind of a healthy snack that's not caffeine related, that's going to trigger you to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Mhm.
Or even for some people, it's like, well, hey, it's good for the digestive system to have a glass of red wine with dinner. But in some people,
Mm.
and alcohol is another, it's like a silent sleep destroyer because it's another one that it affects the nervous system and it affects the blood circulation. That again, you're waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock because of that
Mhm.
glass of wine you had at dinner. So,
Mhm.
it's, and again, it's not saying, we're not there to say, you have to absolutely change your life and change your diet and not have any of these things that we all love. It's just
Mm.
understanding how your body is sensitive to certain things and it gets in the way of sleep, or it gets in the way of something. So that's kind of how I would first work, and then it could also be, maybe they exercise at nighttime, and it gets them all excited, and so maybe they can move their workout to the morning. There's many ways, there's many things that cause sleep. Um, and in many instances, of course, it's mind over matter. Many of us can't sleep because of deadlines. We can't sleep because of things we have to do. We have too many things on our mind. And so, and that's kind of, I think, where you step in a little bit, I get on that business side, is helping people learn how to prioritize and work through their work life in a way that, again, brings balance and doesn't keep them up all night trying to meet these big scary goals that you have them then make, and so that is it. It's there's many reasons for sleep deprivation or insomnia or people not sleeping, but I have found that the majority of it is based on digestion.
Got it. Isn't that fascinating? In that you would never think, all that is so related to how your food habits tie into your sleep, your quality of sleep. And so at the same time, Angela, what I'm fascinated with is, again, how to track, how to get involved with you in looking carefully at those decisions and then getting clear on what it is that I'm actually doing. I think the visibility seems to be so exciting in getting a little bigger of a picture as to what's going on. It's fascinating to also hear your subject matter expertise about the caffeine. And I never associated that with this. I always thought, well, yeah, caffeine, yeah, it's an energizer, but that's not exactly the case. And so perhaps by understanding a little better the anatomy of what I'm putting in my body, what it's actually doing to me, it informs me to make better decisions. Yes?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And even, if you were to go to, like, say, a functional health specialist because you had health issues that were
Right,
not, like, you got a rash or you've got a sore throat or you've got a stomach ache. I mean,
right.
of course, you're going to go to a doctor,
Yeah,
a regular doctor, for those type of things. But
yeah,
generally, if you have, some feelings of ill health, or you have things that just don't go away,
yeah, yeah,
just like
that's interesting.
just don't go away. And then it's like, so what am
Yeah,
I going to do about this?
right.
I mean, they're going to tell you, and they're first going to say to you, there are certain foods that the majority of the population have sensitivities to. And
Mm,
those being um, wheat, soy,
mm,
corn, eggs, and dairy.
mm,
Those are the
mm,
five main things that people have some level of sensitivity to.
mm, mm,
And so they're going to start with an elimination diet. Our health coaches are going to start with an elimination diet because we're not recommending a diet to you. We are
mm.
suggesting. I mean, now you and I have had many conversations too
Yeah,
about diets and
yes.
diets. I mean, and that's what drives the food industry. I mean, is these
Mm,
diets. It's like fashion.
mm,
There's always some new fad diet. There's always some new fad health food. There's always some new fad health drink, and people are falling prey to so much in terms of, I'll try this diet, I'll try that diet. Which diet works for me? Well, a diet that works for your friend isn't going to necessarily work for you. And at the end of the day, it's just understanding good health and nutrition and incorporating, I think if you talk about diet, the best one is truly the Mediterranean diet, but it isn't really a
mm,
diet. It's a lifestyle. The
mm,
Mediterranean we call it a diet because we're talking about the food, but it's really a lifestyle. And that lifestyle, if you look at, there's a website called Blue Zones, and Blue Zones is a company, an organization that has studied the parts of the world where people live the longest. And where are they? And there's several blue zones. There's a few in America, but they're all over the world. There's not many, but the Mediterranean is one of them. And what kind of qualifies as a blue zone is an area where people are living over the age of 100. But they're not living over the age of 100 because our medical system has kept them alive on a respirator or with, that they're living real lives over the age of 100, without medication. and they're living based on diet, which is, a healthy diet from their region, generally, fish, rice, and vegetables. They have interaction with friends, they have a social life, they exercise, they take walks, and they do whatever works in their environment to have this full life. And that's really what a health coach brings to the table, is to help a person live a life that incorporates, again, what we call the circle of life, but it's the elements, the spirituality, the friendships that go into, joy and happiness. And when you say, like, again, as busy executives, I myself, there have been times when, I've had to stop myself from working too much or neglecting areas of my own life. And, and say, hey, you can't be doing this. If you want to live a life without medication, and you don't want to be on a respirator at 80, you want to still be active and vibrant and important, feeling important and purposeful.
Congratulations! You've become a success in the business world. You've set goals and you've surpassed them. But now you ask yourself, how can I muster the ambition and time to continue encouraging growth and still have time to enjoy life? Where did the excitement and ambition I once had go? That's where we come in. High Level Performance. Executive coaches that, simply put, in 3 years could help you triple your income, triple your fun, and triple your free time. Find out more at highlevelperformance.com. That's highlevelperformance.com. highlevelperformance.com. Grow your business and grow as a human being with these captivating books authored by the VIP coach himself, John Davidson. The Day I Built My Barbecue is about creative freedom. Learn how you can not only live well, but also grow a thriving business at the same time. John shows you his step-by-step technique with the principles, strategies, and steps to move from a business operator to a business owner. The Day You Build Your Barbecue is the day we all wish for. Totally free of distractions, totally available to living well, fully present. Then don't miss Unstoppable You. It's about creative value. When we do what we love and love what we do, we discover ways to make our business more fun and monetize our passions. Through stories, tools, and steps, this book will help you bring something to the world that no one else can and bridge your most unique talents to the deepest aspirations you have of the future. And stand in the presence of all you are. It's about creative purpose. What does it mean to live on purpose? How do we work with the mystery that life presents us at every moment? In this book, John shows us through the silent spaces in life how to connect with our innermost sacred projects and passages. You'll learn how to bring the work, language, and presence of the soul into everything you do. Visit highlevelperformance.com to pick up any of these books in paperback or Kindle editions today. That's highlevelperformance.com.
I'm evaluating myself. I think anybody listening is bending the beam back to them. And one of the things that coaching does is make you honest. And I think by being a coach, when I decided to do this in 1998, I saved my own life because I knew I was going to be accountable to the things that I was coaching on. And I couldn't figure out a better way to do that. Okay. And so, and I had been coached for 4 years coming up to that point, and I thought, boy, this is where it's at. Collaboration is really the best way to go about creating anything. And neglect, you bring up this neglect, and I remember in that moment saying, I can't neglect certain things. How do I want to be looking at my life on my last day? We all have this sense of immortality, Angela, and I myself, and there's something fantasy-like in our lives where we think we're going to live forever, or the assumption that, oh, they're the ones that get cancer, not me, right? Or, yeah, they're the ones that get that lung disease. They're the ones that get the diabetes, not me. And that's a very fatalizing thought, to think I'm going to live forever, and to think that other people are the ones that get sick. I don't. And I had to come to terms with those two things. And I find that anybody listening, I hope this resonates with you, because I think Angela's pointing us right at it, is you got to get honest. And if you're 40, if you're 50, if you're 60, if you're 70, it's not too late to get honest and have somebody make you honest, to keep pointing your eyeballs at things that you need to be looking at so that you're able to make better decisions. And like you said, Angela, if we do that, then we have some control over where we're going to be at those moments in our lives, where we'll be looking back at what we did upstream to be positioning where we are downstream. I think you've got to, what you're saying is a person has to evaluate very carefully not to fall into these assumptions, aren't you? Isn't that
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. It really is. And again, and I think it's definitely being honest, because
Yeah.
we have to be honest in all aspects of our life.
Yes.
We just have to be. And being open, and being confident enough to reach out and to
Yeah.
somebody and say, this, and make it a priority.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, it's just things of, people who, where do you put your money, so to speak,
Yeah. That's a great question. Great question.
And so it's like, well, if you can find yourself, giving Starbucks a couple of $1,000s every year to keep you
Yeah. Good.
at work, then you certainly can put money into a health coach,
That's a great point. I
Um,
want to run. It really makes me think of something, Angela, and it's something that I often run into in the business coaching when I have someone talk to me about the vision of their health, and then I'll ask them. I'll say, well, what are some of the things you're doing today? And the confession I get from a lot of males is, I haven't had a physical in. I can't remember when I had my last physical. And I hear this so much is I'd say, well, when did you get your physical? Do you have your blood panel? No, I can't remember the last time I've gone to see a doctor. I can't remember that. I'm always curious why that's so. How would you describe why? I'm sure many entrepreneurs that are listening right now are laughing at how true this is. Of It's our little confession to say, I've been playing hooky from the doctor, and I know I should go. I know I should go to the dentist, but I don't see them. And I know I should go get my checkup and have my prostate checked, and I know that I should have my blood work, but I don't do it. What do you say to someone like that?
well, really what it is, you have to understand what is the psychology behind that, and
Okay.
of course, is number one is, like you just said, we neglect ourselves and we think we're invincible. That's never going to happen to me. I'm
Yeah.
never going to be the one,
Yeah.
I'm all
Yeah.
right. I get up every day, I do my job and I do my thing. I'm okay. So that's number one is, is we're not invincible, you know, things can happen to anybody, no matter how healthy you are. I mean, we've even seen in the news recently of, kind of higher profile people who are dying at the age of 40, and then not
Wow.
even knowing why, but
Boy.
you never know, that's way too young to just, leave the planet. But that's what's happened to some people.
Interesting.
And some of these people is like, they didn't even reach the age of it being a standard, prostate check or
Yeah.
mammography, you know what I mean? It's like, so I think there's that. I mean, I think in the American system that there is also, these, they kind of designate these ages when we should be having certain procedures, such as, colonoscopy, or such as breast
Yeah.
cancer check, different things, which, absolutely in the things that we should be doing. But I do think the number one thing is, we just think we're invincible. Number two is
Wow.
fear. Number two is fear.
Here.
We actually don't want to be told that we have something wrong with us, because
Yeah.
which
Yeah. Don't
one of
tell
those
me.
diagnostic tests might actually tell us, that tummy problem you've been having, it's your prostate or your colon problem or the prostate,
Right. Yeah.
going to the
I,
bathroom
I
10 times a
I'd
night.
rather just assume it's not there instead of having to deal
Yeah,
with it,
yeah.
right? Right.
So it's, it's definitely invisibility, it's fear, and then it's like, and then what? Well, if they find something, then it's going to distract me from what I'm really trying to do. If
Yeah.
I do have something wrong with me, it's going to disrupt
Yeah.
my life, and I like my life as it is right now. So,
Mm.
I think there's many things, or it could be, is again in the US, it's the cost of these procedures, is if you don't have health insurance or you don't have, health insurance that can cover adequately. I'm in California, and so our health insurance system is completely out of control. The cost of health insurance is just unbelievable for most people, especially, people who don't qualify for the covered CAL, with some of the lower insurance policies, because we're making money, and it's quite unbelievable to see that the successful people have to pay so much for health insurance compared to people who are earning, a lower income and are living a stressful life too, and they definitely need access to good healthcare, but we all do, but that's not really an option. So we have to take things into our own hands. And so that to me is the message is, regardless of how invincible you think you are or how afraid you are, is your annual physical, wherever it is, I do mine in Mexico. I do that in Mexico because I happen to, spend part of my life and my time in Mexico. I live part-time in California, part-time in Mexico. The health system here is very different, and is not based on fear, and it's not based on you having procedures just because you're 50, just because you're 40. It's really based on, do you feel unwell? And if you feel unwell, then, we're going to check into that more. And so I think, in terms of our own general health, there are some things just to think about. It's like, if you don't wake up feeling your best every day, why? If you, I was thinking of this today, is like, one of the key indicators of, like, you think when you go to a doctor and the first thing they say is open your mouth and stick out your tongue, and they put that.
Totally.
Well, you don't need to go to a doctor to do that. You can stick out your tongue in the mirror in the morning after you've brushed your teeth and look at your own tongue. It's an indicator of whether your microbiome, which is your internal microbodies in your intestinal tract, are happy. If your tongue is pink and clear, then you got a happy microbiome, and you should therefore have a good digestive tract. And if you have a good digestive tract, you should have a good colon health and prostate health. If you've got a tongue that's mucky looking and murky and gross, then, you might want to reevaluate what you're doing. I mean, so there are things we can do. I had a client who realized that she's really into health and fitness, really into working out. And she was doing a new health program where it was like a boot camp type 6-week program. And a lot of the exercises that she was doing, which were kind of new to her, were exercises where she was doing push-ups, or she was doing, things where she's basically on her hands and knees or hands and feet. And her hands really hurt every time she was doing this, and she couldn't understand why the bones in her towards her wrist were really painful and couldn't carry her weight. And what we came to realize is she actually she knew that that eating bread and gluten gave her, she couldn't eat it often, because of her digestive, and she didn't. But she thought that eating crackers and cheese in the afternoon or after work, a glass of wine and some crackers and cheese. And we actually came down to realizing that and that was an elimination with her, that she eliminated the crackers and cheese because it was the only area in her diet where we could see a change. Like, for some reason, she was at this point where every day after work, she's eating cheese and crackers and drinking wine, just a glass of wine.
Wow.
And we weren't blaming the wine so much as the cheese and crackers. And she, over about 3 weeks, just stopped eating the cheese and crackers, and she had no problems with her hands. And it was this understanding that it was more, that it's not just gluten digestive intolerance, it's arthritic symptoms, and so again, it's like there's just certain things that you can do and change that will really improve your quality of life from a health perspective.
It's fascinating in the way you describe that, Angela. I'm so glad you shared that story, and about how we overlook things because we think we're immortal, we're invincible, and there's this fatalizing myth. And so what I'm hoping is that people that are listening are taking a closer look and really taking stock and getting honest and asking themselves some questions. What are my assumptions right now about how I'm handling my health? And are my assumptions supportive, or are my assumptions not? Um, am I aware of, and am I really paying attention to how unwell I feel? I find that business owners, Angela, they are the last on the list, and they're almost, in a way, it's like they're just battling through whatever they feel. They're just not necessarily calculating that as a metric, how well or unwell I feel, because they're focused so much on goals and production and doing all that, that if we don't look at these things, it's like we're kind of killing ourselves off while we're trying to make everything happen. And that's not a sustainable pattern. And so part of the reason why I wanted to do this was to really alert the coach clients to, hey, this is a moment of truth. Really turn your eyes around and get honest about this and ask yourself, am I doing everything I can to position myself to create optimal health? Because I love my children. I want to be at their first dance of their wedding. I want to be around for a long time. I have lots of projects and loves and dreams and impact I want to make with my life, and that my health is my temple. And that if I have this foundation of my health, am I really fortifying it to a level that's commensurate with the dream and the vision I want to create? And holding that up to scrutiny, because if you're really serious about creating the magical businesses and the wealth that we talk about and all that, this becomes the most important gateway among all the other things in your life building process. So I want to know, Angie, how do you begin with a client? How should they get started with you? What's that beginning process to turn the corner?
Well, I think, in terms of your listeners, the best way would to be to reach out.
Hmm.
They obviously need to reach out. Now, you can find me, of course, on your high level performance page, because I am a coach under the highlevelperformance.com.
Yep.
They can reach out to you through your website, through
Sure.
your contact details. They can find me. My PR agency is tpimediagroup.com. My phone number is 949-768-1522. And that would be the first step, is for them to just reach out and say, hey, I'm interested in health coaching. And then from there, we can set up a complimentary 30-minute telephone consultation or Zoom consultation, whatever,
Yeah.
Team Viewer, Google Meet, whatever is a
Yeah.
preference. And we kind of start from there, and we can, I can give them a health questionnaire, and they can complete that before we do our call. We can go through that, and then from there they can decide if they want to sign up for their initial 6-month health coaching, system.
Yeah.
And then from there, we meet twice a month,
Yeah.
again, over the phone or on a Zoom call, or, whatever is their preference. If you are close to where I am, we can meet in person. But most people, especially in recent years, is we're finding that the health coaching online is really the way to go. It's what everybody wants. It's something that they can fit into their schedule with no travel
Yeah.
time. And so. And that's really what we do. And we get to know each other, and we decide if we're a good fit. And if we are, then I will help you try to live the healthiest, most vibrant life that you can possibly have.
I love that thought. Thank you. Thank you. What came up for me there, Angela, like you said there, is to create the most vibrant and uh, the best life. Live your best life is the idea. And so, there's a big difference between eliminating an unwanted disease or eliminating an unwanted pain versus the architecture of generating optimal health. And what I hear Angela saying is that there's a lot of preventative measures that she can help you take by getting things set up with your nutrition and looking at the wheel of life to make you more immune to the onset of major disease, to make you more immune to the downturns, to strengthen and fortify your system, your biome, as you called it. Look at your tongue. Check out what your tongue is doing. Man, I haven't heard that since kindergarten, JD. Put on
It's
your stick
crazy,
out your
isn't
tongue.
it?
You know, and it used to scare me. It's like if I had a tummy issue and I'd take Pepto-Bismol, I remember waking up with a purple tongue. Ah,
Uh-huh.
you know, and so I think that scared me a little bit to look at my tongue. But you make a really good point that that's a great example of simple things that are so simple they're almost hard. And we would tend to overlook them unless we had a partner or a running buddy that says, hey, take a closer look, slow down before you're speeding all this up. Get off the treadmill for a minute here. Look at what you're really doing. Why are you eating what you're eating? What is really going on? Let's really look at what's really at play here and see if we can position things to get yourself well. It's just such a great thought, Angela. Can you give us one tip or one example on one of the best things you do to create optimal health? If you had to pick one thing that made the dominoes fall in the right direction, I know that you're really big on this and how you do this backstage, but what's the biggest aspect of you creating your optimal health? What do you work on?
I mean, I think for me, my happy place is in the gym. And so exercise is my number one.
Awesome.
I have to exercise every day, and I feel it. When I don't, I just feel it. I mean, everything from my mood to my, flexibility. So exercise for me is number one.
Mm.
Sleep, again, is so important. Like you said, I mean, at first I thought sleep because I know when I do get a good night's sleep, I feel great the next day. But then I also know even if I've had a good night's sleep, I go to the gym, my brain is clear, and so, I think brain health, which again is a whole other conversation, is, the brain fog there are reasons you have brain fog. And to me, exercise clears the brain fog. And so, exercise for me is number one.
Exercise. Yeah. And are we really getting enough movement? Yeah.
And what does exercise mean? Because it doesn't just mean going to the gym. It does, exercise to me is hiking. Exercise is walking. Exercise is lifting weights. Exercise is playing basketball. Exercise is playing tennis. It doesn't matter what your level of exercise is or what your choice of exercise is. And you can exercise anywhere, anytime, any day. And so there's no excuses for not exercising.
Oh boy, I'll take that one. Hey, there's the one-liner right there. There is no excuses for not exercising. Now,
even if your sound is like now with the internet and YouTube, it's like there's so many fantastic coaches. You do free videos and you can work out in your living room, So
that's right. Yeah. Well, and that may be also something as the listeners considering is having so many options is a little overwhelming. And so rather than look at the whole buffet table of all those options, I think Angela's making the point is just give yourself the care of coaching and to look after yourself by just getting started. And that can be easy. So, Angela, I thank you so much for this time together and helping us understand better the opportunity of your help and how that fits into the high-level performance work that we do with leaders. Leaders that are listening, it is completely in your best interest to do this and to get involved in health coaching and to create optimal health. I know that we'll go a lot further if we do that. You've been listening to the High Level Performance Podcast. And so I thank you so much for being part of this and joining the High Level Performance community. Please share our podcast with others as you possibly can. Be a good nominator of high level performance. We're looking to go throughout the planet in bringing leaders to their best business and their best life. Growing companies, growing leaders is what we do. Saving geniuses and liberating them is our work. So thank you very much. You've been listening to the VIP Coach Podcast, Freedom, Lifestyle, and Growth. Are you ready for high-level performance? Find us online at highlevelperformance.com and get yourself coached, raise your A game, and experience the difference. Pull it all together. Get your team coached to high-level performance and become part of the community today and position your company for greatness. It's about freedom, lifestyle, and growth. The VIP Coach.